Abandoned mansion. The old abandoned mansion on the outskirts of town had always intrigued Emily. She had heard rumors of its dark history, of the strange occurrences that happened within its walls. And so, one rainy evening, Emily and her friends, Rachel and Mark, decided to explore the old mansion for themselves. As they approached the mansion, Emily's heart raced with excitement and fear. The old wooden door creaked as they pushed it open, and the musty smell of the old mansion filled their nostrils. Emily shivered, feeling as if the house was alive and watching their every move. They made their way through the dimly lit rooms, with the only light coming from the flickering candles they had brought with them. The walls were covered in cobwebs and the floors creaked with every step they took. Emily felt a chill run down her spine as they entered a room filled with dusty old furniture. As they explored further, they came across a locked door. Curiosity got the best of them, and they tried to force it open. After a few moments of struggling, the lock gave way, and the door swung open with a loud creak. Inside, they found a room that looked like it hadn't been touched in years. There was a dusty old book lying on a table in the center of the room. Emily picked it up, and as she did, she felt a strange sensation run through her body. She opened the book, and to her surprise, it was a diary. As she read through the pages, she realized that it belonged to a girl who had lived in the mansion over a century ago. The girl had been tormented by a malevolent presence that had haunted the mansion for years. As Emily read on, she suddenly heard a strange noise coming from the room next door. She turned to Rachel and Mark, and they all agreed to investigate. They cautiously opened the door, and as they stepped inside, they saw a figure standing in the corner of the room. It was a tall, dark figure, with glowing red eyes that seemed to stare straight through them. Emily felt a cold chill run through her body as she realized that they were not alone in the mansion. Suddenly, the figure began to move towards them, and they all backed away in terror. The figure seemed to be moving without touching the ground, gliding towards them with an eerie grace. Emily screamed as the figure reached out and touched her, and she felt a searing pain shoot through her body. As she fell to the ground, everything went black. When Emily woke up, she found herself lying on the floor of the mansion. Rachel and Mark were standing over her, looking concerned. They helped her to her feet, and they all hurried out of the mansion as quickly as they could. As they made their way back to town, Emily felt a strange sensation in her body. She felt as if something had entered her, something malevolent and powerful. She knew that she would never be the same again. Over the next few days, strange things began to happen to Emily. She would wake up in the middle of the night, screaming in terror. She would see shadows moving in the corners of her room, and hear strange whispers in her ear. One night, she woke up to find the figure standing at the foot of her bed. It reached out and touched her once again, and she felt the same searing pain shoot through her body. Emily knew that she was no longer safe. She had to find a way to rid herself of the malevolent presence that had taken over her body. She remembered the diary she had found in the mansion, and she knew that it held the key to her salvation. Emily spent the next few days researching everything she could about the mansion and the malevolent presence that had possessed her. She discovered that the mansion had been built on an ancient burial ground, and that the malevolent presence was the spirit of an evil sorcerer who had been buried there centuries ago. Emily knew that she had to find a way to break the sorcerer's hold on her. She went to the local library and searched through old books and archives, hoping to find a way to banish the spirit from her body. Finally, she found a passage that described a ritual that could be used to banish evil spirits. It involved burning sage and reciting ancient incantations. Emily knew that she had to perform the ritual as soon as possible. She gathered the necessary ingredients and went back to the mansion, accompanied by Rachel and Mark. As they entered the mansion, Emily felt the malevolent presence grow stronger. She knew that they had to act fast. She led them to the room where she had found the diary, and they began to prepare for the ritual. They lit the sage and began to recite the ancient incantations. As they did, they could feel the presence of the sorcerer growing stronger. The room began to shake, and objects started to fly across the room. Emily felt as if she was being torn apart from the inside, but she knew that she had to keep going. She continued to recite the incantations, and the presence of the sorcerer began to weaken. Suddenly, there was a blinding flash of light, and the sorcerer's presence was banished from Emily's body. She fell to the ground, exhausted but relieved. As they left the mansion, Emily felt a weight lifted from her shoulders. She knew that she was finally free from the malevolent presence that had haunted her. She turned to Rachel and Mark, and they all smiled in relief. However, as they walked away from the mansion, they heard a strange noise coming from behind them. They turned around and saw the figure of the sorcerer, standing at the entrance of the mansion. Emily knew that they had to leave immediately, and they all started to run. As they ran, Emily looked back and saw the sorcerer following them, his glowing red eyes fixed on them. They finally made it back to town, and Emily knew that they had to warn everyone about the evil presence that still resided in the mansion. They went to the local authorities and told them everything that had happened. The authorities investigated the mansion and discovered that the sorcerer's spirit was still trapped there. They sealed off the mansion and warned everyone to stay away. Emily knew that she had faced her fears and conquered the evil that had haunted her. She felt stronger and more confident than ever before. And even though the mansion remained sealed off, she knew that she had gained a valuable lesson about the dangers of dabbling in the supernatural.